Howdy y'all, you're hearing the voice of Kaz at Kirkpatrick Leather Co, and today I want to show you guys how we mount our buffalo lever wraps onto your rifles. So I've gone ahead and grabbed a couple of things that are going to help us out a lot. You don't necessarily need these items, but they will make life a lot easier when you're mounting something onto your rifle. The first thing we're going to want is a pair of needle nose pliers. We'll use those later, so I'll set those aside for now. A screwdriver, your lever wrap and loop that it should come with, 1/8 inch by 20 inch. Your rifle, hopefully you've got it handy. And then we're gonna use a vise today, but you can do this without a vise. So the first thing I'm gonna wanna do is remove the lever from my rifle. Prior to doing anything with your rifle, always make sure the firearm is unloaded. This one I just pulled off of the shelf at our gun store, so we are very well aware this is gonna be unloaded here. This is a Marlin model 1894. Not every lever gun is going to have the exact same mechanism for removing your lever. This one's just got one screw holding this entire lever in. So we're going to start by removing this in the open position. That's going to make our lives easier later on. This will back out. Some of these will have Loctite from the factory, so the screw may be a bit tight. And it's only threaded on one end. So once you've got it loose, you'll notice that you can just pull the whole sucker right on out. I didn't quite get it all the way there. All right, once we get to that point, we should just be able to pull this pin all the way through. We're gonna set this aside so that we don't lose it. If you've got a magnet bowl or something to zap it to, that'll help you a lot. It's a small part, easy to lose. This should now just shimmy on out. And now we're gonna take this over to our vise. This is where we're gonna need these needle nose pliers, and we'll take the lever wrap and loop with us. So give us 2 seconds and we'll get set up at the vise. Okay, y'all, we moved 2 steps over to my vise here, and we're gonna go ahead and get started mounting this wrap onto here. So I've got my lever oriented. Grab your little knuckle duster, right? Imagine your trigger's in here. I want this inverted from this position, make it easier to work on. And I'm just gonna drop this sucker right in the vise. I don't wanna cinch this down too tight, right? Not trying to warp any metal, just enough that it's gonna hold her steady for me. Then we're gonna take our loop. And you wanna orient this however it's gonna be comfortable for you. So this is a relatively smaller loop. This is the standard Marlin 94 size loop. Some of your bigger rifles, you're going to want to set this further forward or further back, just depending on how big your hands are, how big your gun is, and how you like racking your lever. I like mine set up like this, so we're just going to set it right here. I'm going to start by running this lace through what I will refer to as the outside of the loop here. Right, so this will be our outside, the smooth side. And the inside is going to be this furry side. So to start with, you shouldn't need those needle nose pliers just yet. They'll come in handy later. We're just going to get this through our hole. And if you struggle, then yes, absolutely use those. You got a tool, so use it in any way that it'll help you. I want this nice and cinched tight. And just like with tying your laces on your shoes, you want to make sure that you've got equal length bites both ends of your lace there. That's just going to keep it consistent as we go. I broke my gimbal. There we go. Now that I've got both strings on the outside, I'm going to want to bring these around and over to get them to the inside. There's a couple of ways of lacing these down. This is just my preferred way. It comes out with some pretty X pattern. Get that not too tight. We'll pull this one up and over, and to get that X pattern, I'm going to take this up and over the top of that, and you'll start seeing the X forming. And now we'll get both of our laces on the inside of our loop here. Oh my goodness, sometimes she wants to shift on us. If it gives you some trouble, this is where you bust out those pliers. I'm just having trouble cinching it down, which is why we've got it in the vise, so I can pull as tight as I need and get this snug as a bug in a rug. Okay, we've got a good start. Here's where I'm gonna start busting out my pliers. Now I've got my laces on the inside. I'm gonna wanna do the same pattern I just did. We'll run it through the inside and out. I'm using these pliers. You don't necessarily need the pliers. Any tool that'll make that hole a little bit wider for you. So as you cinch these down, these holes are going to want to start to close up on you. So we got to make sure we got enough space. So I did, what did I do? I went from this side to this side, and then this one came up and over. So I'm going to do the same thing. Set this off to the side for now. I'll start with this end. Run it through. take this end and run that through. You'll start to see the X's forming on the inside here. And I'm just gonna rinse and repeat this process all the way down my lever. So, won't be much more talking from me. I might jiggle that gimbal a little bit as we go down. It's kind of in my way. I'll find a better spot for it later on. Sometimes this last hole can be a little finicky. So what you might do, get your needle nose pliers through that little hole and see if you can't grab onto your thread or your lace or however you'd like to refer to this, and just tug it through that hole gently. I got big old fingers, so I can't always put these things exactly the way they need to be. And if you do this a little bit tighter than I did up here at top, and let me loosen this so you can see it. I didn't give it the tightest pull. This is a gun from our gun store, and so I've got to be able to take this off and take it back. To get a good permanent fixture, just get those suckers as tight as you can get them on there. If you do it nice and tight, you'll end up with a little bit more excess than this, and so I usually like to do a quick square knot, which is not unlike tying your laces on your shoes. We'll start with one loop, see if I can even get this with as little excess as I left myself. I may not be able to. Tighten that back down. Don't want that moving on us. Looks like I'll be able to get half of a square knot. All right, we can get the starting of a square knot there. I'll take this off for demonstrative purposes. So now we should have a nice smooth interior to our lever. All right, my knuckles are sitting nice and comfortably there. I pushed it a little bit further back. I've got wider hands, so my pinky likes to butt up against the end there. You may like it for this end to be covered up a little bit more. You may like it either way. Again, this is a smaller loop, so your positioning will largely depend on how big your hands are, how big your loop is, how big your gun is, and how fast you're trying to lever it. So we'll go ahead and jump back over to our gun while I mount this back onto it. We're now back over at our rifle, still open the way that we left it a second ago. Got my screw in the exact same spot that I left it. All we're gonna do to get this back in here, we're gonna set this flush the back end of this opening, right? Flush in. We remember what it looked like when we levered it open, so we know it's gotta go back in roughly at that spot. Find where it wants to click into place. Make sure you get those holes perfectly lined up, or this pin is not gonna wanna drop in. Should drop in as far as you can get it, and then you bust out the screwdriver. Remember, it's only threaded on the very far end of that, so you don't need to be trying to thread it through the part where there's no threads. At this stage, if this is your personal rifle and you're not planning on replacing the lever, I would recommend using a blue Loctite or other kind of thread locker at about the medium strength. This in particular should not rattle loose at all during normal use, but it never hurts to lock in a thread that doesn't need to be moving ever. At this point, we'll do a quick function check. I put it back together A-OK. Hammer still drops just fine. And we're good to go. I hope that was a good informative lesson for y'all on how to mount a lever wrap onto your rifle. This is something that I would also not mind taking care of for y'all. If you all want to send me your levers and purchase a lever wrap, I'm happy to do it for you. Our mailing address is 6501 Arena Boulevard, Suite 104A in Laredo, Texas. Zip code is 78045. If you're going to do this and you'd like to send something in for me to take care of for you, just let me know ahead of time. Give us a call at area code 956-723-6893 or reach out to us by email at support@kirkpatrickleather.com. Thank you guys. Have a good one.